Okay, so let's do the last problem, the graphing calculator exercises, number 4. This one involves graphing. Now we have a cosine function, and we'll assume this graph and everything will involve radians. So let me just show you. You go to menu. I'm sorry, not menu. Let me escape out of there. I go to the home button. If I go to settings, and there we go. I go to settings down there again. There's special settings for graphs and geometry. Now, I have everything, the graphing angles and radians, and I have float 3, which means, you're going to have pretty much 3 numbers that are shown for all your graphing exercise. Now, if you needed more decimals and needed to work with that, you could always change the float to other things. So for now, we'll change it to 4. If you have too many on the graph, it kind of looks a little ugly. So 4 is fine. If we really needed more to do calculations with, well, you'll see. We could store the values in any case. So I'm going to go to OK. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, down here, it says add graphs to new document. So I'm going to click there and go to add graphs. Now, you'll actually see on here I have, just from playing around with it before, I have another graphing document. So I have 2 graphs on the same document, 2 tabs. So I'm just going to delete this tab because I'm going to work with the other graphing tab. So let me delete this page. Okay, so now here's my graphing tab. Okay, so first of all, down here is where I could put my function. It's starting at f of 2. I want to start at f1. So if I click up, it'll go there, and as you can see, it's already typed in there from me doing it previously. But you could type it in just like in the calculator section. So I type this in. I press enter, and I get a graph that looks like this. Now remember, we want to find all the minimums, maximums, and zeros. So from the range from 1 to 8 of this function. So well, I'll do a couple things. The first thing I'm going to do is press menu, go to window zoom, and I'm going to go to zoom fit. Usually zoom fit will fit, well, I don't know, I guess what the calculator deems the most important looking parts of the graph, and this is what it shows. The other thing I'm going to do now is go, and you can see here it shows you the minimums all the way down there, a maximum's up there, you have another minimum here, but it's past the range that we really want. We only want 1 through 8, so I'm going to go back to menu. I'm going to go down to, go to the window zoom, and in the window settings, that's where you could do it manually now. I have my range I only care about is 1 to 8, so usually it's a good idea if we know our range is 1 to 8, at least 1 or 2 numbers past that. You go from 0 to 9, so it just makes it easier to kind of see all of what's going on. Maybe even you'd want to go to 1 there, -1 to 10, but of course we're only looking for 1 to 8. So you do that, this is what we see. Now, you could see there's clearly 2 zeros we want to look into, a maximum and a minimum. So, we'll find those first, but then you notice there's some activity happening there. It looks like it's along the x-axis, but we don't know if there's like slight bumps. Maybe there's a minimum, maximum, a 0 or 2 there. We'll check into that later, but let's get the obvious things. The zeros. Click on menu. Everything you're going to need is an analyze graph, and they all get solved pretty much the same way. So I'm going to go to minimum, let's say. Okay, I go to minimum, lower bound. That means go to the left of where you perceive the minimum to be, and I'm going to click this middle button over there. Okay, now I go to the right. Okay, I'm going to click this middle button right over here. There we go. Now what happens is it's over here. When you see that hand looking like it wants to grab it, you see where my thumb is right there on that middle button. You hold that until the hand grabs. Once it grabs, you can move it out of the way, and that's fine. You have your minimum. Okay. any sort of zeros you'd find the same exact way. So minimums, maximums are zeros, right? So analyze graph, want to find a zero. There we go, lower bound. I click. Upper bound, you move it to the right, you click, and you can see it shows your zero. Okay, so that's that's how you could get that. Okay. Now the maximum and the other zero you would find the same way. You'd find this zero is less than 8, so it does become a solution, and the solutions will be on a solution page I'll show you later. Now, like I said, over here there's some other activity that may be going on. We don't really know what's going on, so we're going to want to zoom in there a little bit closer to get a better picture of what's happening. So I'm going to go to Windows Zoom, and now I'm going to use Zoom Box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get as close as possible to this area. Kind of make it long and thin, because it's right around this line here. We don't know if we have, zeros or whatever the case may be. See, even now you could see, it looks like there's a zero there and there, but still really close to the line. So I'm going to zoom in even further. Okay, even further. Now let me go this low and hopefully get a better idea of what's going on. I do this, look at this, much better idea of what's going on. Okay. If you were to look at the tick marks, you could see this minimum is actually less than 1, so we don't really care about that. But we can see we get 2 zeros and a new maximum. So, for instance, if we wanted to find one of the zeros, analyze graph, 0, and go to the lower bounds, I click. Says upper bound, I click, and look at that, right on the nose, 1 is 0. Now, from this problem, you could have gathered that without using the calculator, because natural log of 1 is 0, making the whole expression 0. But once again, even without that, the calculator does that for you. And let me find the max as well. Once again, I'm going to click Menu, Analyze Graph, Maximum. And like I said, then that other 0 you find the same way, and this is more of a calculator tutorial than showing you every answer. I'll do that separately. So then I get this maximum. Okay, great. So now, if the problem is specifically asking something like, what are the values of the maximum, and that's it, you don't really need to go further. You have the maximum 1.332, so 1.33 would be one of the maximums on the range of this graph, and you write down the answer, it's fine. But what if you needed that max for further work? Like I said, you shouldn't round at intermediate steps, so how do we handle that in this case? Well, this is what you could do. TI-NSpire, if you go over this and kind of click once, it brings up that that symbol, which looks like exactly what it is going to do. Is going to kind of try to select text. So I click again and I get this whole thing highlighted. Now, you might want to go into menu and see, is there any way I could like copy this value or whatnot? You'd find there's really nothing you could find. However, you have this this little picture above the minimum. It looks like a piece of paper with a cursor going to it. Well, if you click Control, let me get there. I'm going to click Control, and I'm going to click Menu, and this is going to give us some new choices. If Menu doesn't have the choice you want, that symbol right above Menu might have the choice for you. I want to store this value, right? So I click Store, and then it says var with that colon and equals. What you put in for var is whatever you want to represent this particular x value, because that's what I clicked. You could have done the same with the y value as well. So, this is the first maximum. Let's say I call it m. Why not? So if I put an m there, now it says m, colon equals 1.332, and I will press enter. Now what happens is it bolds there, but really the important thing is m now represents that particular x value, which was the first maximum on our graph. So now, if I click Control, click left, and I wanted to do anything with this m, I'm just going to click the m, with this particular maximum rather. I'll just click the M, and there it is. And if I press enter, you could see it's actually going to spit out not only the 4 floating digits, but it's going to spit out all 12 because this calculator section was in float 12 from the first problem. So, you see it actually stores the entire value even though the graph only showed a few decimal places for it. So anyway, that's really how you would solve 4. I know I didn't show all of the other zeros and maxes, but I'll give you the answers, and you really solve it the same exact way. But in any case, these are all important things you should know about your calculator: how to find one variable stats, how to find integrals, derivatives, how to use your graphs, mins, maxes, and zeros to help you solve problems, and just in general how to work with some of the different features on TI-NSpire. Okay, thank you very much.